Hi everybody, welcome to the Ask Weldon show, episode 81. Today I'm going to talk about as many questions as I can to try to catch up with previous content, and I kind of want to be caught up so that I can basically hit like current questions and try to answer some questions from the stream. But until I can answer for questions from the stream, I have to deal with all the backlog of questions that I got previously. So I'm going to just try to burn through all those tonight. Maybe I get through, maybe there's another mega episode like episode 78 and 79 were. 80 I did all live questions from the stream. Tonight I'll try to get to some of them like in between, either after the filming or kind of like in between shots. This question is on Twitter from RainAlpha3275. He says, I could practice speaking in front of the class for days, but still stutter and forget lines. How could I prepare or change? More practice, basically. It's just about practice. I don't know what to say. Like, you could practice speaking in front of the class for days, so do so, and then realize that like people who public speak do it for years. You know, like people are really good public speakers when they're in their late 30s because they've been doing it for 10 years, you know? So it's not going to happen overnight. Or over days, but if you just keep practicing, then you will get better at it. Question is from Wade. It's not anonymous. It says, as a melee player, there are a lot of technical inputs that I need to grind every day to help turn them into muscle memory. I've heard mixed advice where some say it's better to put your complete focus on whatever technical skill you're practicing, trying to learn until it becomes muscle memory, and others say you shouldn't give it your full attention when practicing tech so you don't have to think about it as hard in an actual match. Which advice is more effective? Incorporation. So if you have the time, if you are a pro player, you should try to practice it in as true an environment as possible after drilling it so you have the basics. So you should have you should run it in a drill essentially as well as you can, and then you should essentially practice it in situ like as much as possible. So you can run it in a drill like by yourself, but then you should have an opponent like basically shooting or hitting or whatever. If you're doing like a combo or a block or something, you should try to be like exactly doing it with the projectile live. And yeah, you should try to focus on layering everything all together, because essentially what happens is at each level of complexity that you upgrade, you have to add the stuff you're doing into kind of the mental map you have for the action. So if you learn it just like in a drill environment, then you try to pull it out in the actual environment, it's going to be subpar compared to you learning it in the actual environment. But learning it in the actual environment isn't efficient because you can't run it over and over and over again. So it's actually better from a statistical standpoint to like run the drill, but you want the drill to mimic real life as much as possible. And then you want to try to have an environment where you just practice it over and over again, but with the complexity of the full match like that you're considering, so that you can fit it in as much as possible to like the strategy and the overall like concentration on everything that you're doing. Yeah, so see it as systems theory. So like the thing you're doing is part of a full system and you need to train that, but statistically the way the brain works, it's more efficient to do drills, especially at first. Next question is from Steven, and it's not anonymous. He says, how do you stop taking games so seriously? I have a bad habit of, even when playing with friends for fun, getting a bit salty or annoyed when they don't play as well or make mistakes. Man, do I have that problem, or had that problem. And essentially you just have to kind of like change what your goal is. You have to decide, do you value performance more or do you value the friendship more? Which one? And then you go with the one that you more value. And if you happen to value the game more, then it's simple. You don't jeopardize your friendship over the game. Play something else with them. If you value the friendship more, then practice self-control, practice resilience, practice finding out what it is that they need to hear more than it is what you feel like you need to say, and prioritize the friendship, which means saying what they need to hear or want to hear versus what you want to say, because we always have things we want to say, right? So mental toughness is like deciding when we want to disobey our emotional content of our bodies and our frustration and deliver behavior that is based on values instead of our emotions. Next question is from Michael, not anonymous. When I start focusing my practice and learning on one particular area, after some time I begin to feel like other skills start deteriorating. Are there any particular strategies for practicing new skills while retaining old ones? Yes. Incorporate the old skills into your new ones. So you always want to scaffold. In other words, like adding on the skills on top of the other ones so that you're doing them while you're learning the new ones. Next question is from Twitter, from Miknar. As a player, how do you avoid falling for the Dunning-Kruger effect? Can you stay objective about your performance? I forget what that is. Sorry. As a coach, how do you avoid the other side of the Dunning-Kruger effect, perceiving tasks to give players easier than they are for others? Let's look it up real quick. Dunning-Kruger effect. Cognitive bias in which a relatively unskilled person suffers illusory superiority, mistakenly assessing their ability to be much higher than it really is. How do you avoid that as a player? Accept reality. If you miss a skill shot, it's not because you're having a bad day. It's because you're bad enough to miss the skill shot. Or you're good enough to hit it when you hit it and miss it the other times. So, like, League of Legends is an objective measure of your skill. It's a competitive game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. You add the results up over time, and you get an objective measure of your skill at League of Legends. It's unarguable. So the first step is like accepting the objective measurement. If you can't accept the objective measurement, then your problem is more about just like, I don't know, self-esteem or something like that. So once you accept the objective measurement, then you look and you say, okay, this is my skill level. These are things I can do and can't do. When you can do something, you can do it. When you can't do something, you can't do it. So you're not good enough yet. So yeah, don't have a cognitive bias, I think, is the first step to avoiding cognitive bias. As a coach, you cultivate a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, and you help players understand that when they are tested on the Rift on the weekends in an LCS match, that the results of that test are real. So if you're like a top team and you lose to a lower team, it's not because you have a bad day. It's not because you like got to fix some things. It's not because you're like a really good team and you can't get it together. It's because you're bad. And they're better on that day, objectively measured by sport, by a competitive match where there can only be an outcome of a winner or loser. Okay, there's not a lot of random variables in League of Legends, and most of them can be controlled for. So when a player like Forgiven, for example, in the EU, goes for years and says like, "Oh my God, bad teams, bad teams, bad teams. How come I can never win a championship?" He's not accepting the fact that he's not good enough to lead a team to a championship in the first place. Which is the problem that I've always had with him, because I've always seen his play, and from the very first time I watched him play, the only thing that I saw was a selfish player who like played for CS instead of winning and played for lane instead of calling the map, and didn't know how to play around objectives, didn't know how to translate lead into victory, didn't know how his role fit into a team fight in a team competition, and was basically one of those people in CSGO that like pads their stats in order to look good. And yeah, so he obviously suffered from this Dunning-Kruger effect, or whatever it is, like cognitive bias, essentially. We call them schema in cognitive behavioral psychology. So yeah, accept reality. When you coach, teach your athletes that sport is an objective measure usually of their skill. And it's not a bad thing, it's just the truth. Question from Callum. What kind of things will I learn when doing a sports psychology course at university? You will learn about visualization, self-talk, goal setting, like individual zones of optimal functioning, and various things like that. Most of which I think are irrelevant except at the very, very highest levels of performance. When you're trying to get that extra 0.01% or 1% of like efficiency squeeze out of what you're doing. So I would recommend like doing it for interest, and then trying to study on your own in like the current conversation of sports psychology, but more like performance psychology and exercise psychology, stuff that more gets at motivation and behavioral change than sports psychology at the elite level, which is mostly what they cover in a sports psychology course, because it's like an introductory course and people want to hear about all the stuff the Olympians are doing, and so they teach you that. Next question on Twitter from Kaibo Gaming says, if I want to optimize my diet and exercise strictly for esports, where do I find out how? Thank you for asking. I'm going to make a course on that soon, and it's going to be up on my courses page. But Generally speaking, you want to make sure that you have a healthy diet for your body type, and you want to have physical maintenance. So you want to be doing mobility and basic strength, and especially lower back, neck, posture, and forearm stuff, and wrist mobility. And if you do that, you'll be pretty set as far as esport performance. Next question is from Austin Wade. He says, how do I balance spending time with my fiance and grinding training when I'm only have about 4 hours a night to do that, and training won't make it so she feels neglected? Decide what your priorities are. So you put one above the other, and understand that there are certain relationships and spouses where, okay, understand this. If you're going to pursue something at an elite level, so a globally elite level, then you want to be like world class in a craft, whatever craft it is: chess, league, running, Rubik's cubes, whatever. There's a dark side to that, and that is that you have to invest an excessive amount of time, and you lead an imbalanced life. Okay, there is well-being within imbalance, but there is no balance in life if you want to be at a elite level in terms of like world class. So when you enter into a relationship and this is your pursuit, then the person that you're in the relationship with has to be a partner in that. There's really no other healthy way around it. So like Michael Jordan's wife was fully complicit in his pursuit to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Tiger Woods' wife, for the time that they were together, was fully complicit in his pursuit to be the greatest golfer of all time. When you look at these like elite athletes, oftentimes the people who are attracted to them and the people that they end up like kind of being with, if they have a long-term relationship that's successful, is somebody who is like very kind of like self-sacrificing, or can construct a life where they can both kind of get what they want, but mostly it's about a single-minded focus on the person who's pursuing perfection, essentially in their craft. Now, that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's just the way it works. So you have to decide if you like want to prioritize pursuing something at the world level and accepting all of the kind of darkness that goes along with that, or if you want to prioritize a relationship with the person that you've already chosen. In which case, you have to like submit to the kind of like life that you have found yourself in and you are living. And that might mean sacrificing some of your dreams, which is fine, because that's something that we as humans are called to do all the time, is submission. And so essentially what you should do is work out with your spouse what you think is like an appropriate kind of understanding of your pursuit and craft, and what are the amount of things that you can sacrifice for that, and what your ambitions are. And when you figure that out, then you enter into an agreement together and a mission together to achieve something. And if that's not going to be like you training the amount of time that you need to become a world-class athlete, then it is not going to happen unless you decide to break it off and prioritize yourself over the relationship. So that's just the way that it is. By the way, you don't need to do it now. Like, there's plenty of life to live. You know, you can have a marriage that changes over time. You can take turns pursuing different things. In our marriage, like, my wife is definitely not somebody who's like the kind of person who's going to let me pursue for 25 years, you know, something at the world-class level like I'm doing now. But this is kind of something that is working out right now in my early 30s with the kids the ages we are, and maternity leave the way that it is, and we're accepting this imbalance for the time being in our relationship, and it's working out that like I am pursuing coaching at the world-class level, but there's a really, really dark side that goes with that, and that's at like 10:50 p.m. at night. I'm right here streaming with you guys instead of at home building a relationship. And in the morning I leave, and the kids are like, "Where are you going, Daddy?" And I kiss them goodbye, and I leave, and then I'm gone 6 days a week, 14 hours a day or more, and that's the cost of high achievement, essentially, in sport. So like there are other things that you can like balance out more and achieve high and cheat, Like you can find ways of hacking your way through business life essentially, in a lot of ways, especially if your goals are not to like be, super incredibly, amazingly, astoundingly wealthy, like enough to buy a sports team or something like that. If you just want to be, moderately successful and like kind of like lock in your income or whatever, then yeah, you can do these kind of things and like be a high achiever. But I'm talking about like performing at like a world-class level, meaning that like that your peer group is like in the hundreds, so yeah. Anyway, that's my lecture on that. Alex asks, how do I stop myself from going on autopilot mode? Every game I would start out with high focus and then it will slowly degrade. Also, how do I improve my information processing and registering? Sometimes I see things happen in my scene, but it doesn't register in my brain for a bit or not at all. Please answer. Love the channel. Heart. Thanks. So autopilot mode, how do you stop yourself? Train when you're awake. Make sure that you are alert and focused and do mindfulness. And then train to knock yourself into awareness. So essentially like mindfulness training is the thing that you need to do to kind of like become aware of where your focus and where your attention is and kind of control that more. So it's less of an awareness of the game and more of awareness of your attention. And that's something you can train, is awareness of where your attention is being pointed. And the way you train that is mindfulness. So I recommend mindfulness. And I'm just wrapping up, like launching my course on mindfulness. It's like a 46 day long, like 20 minutes a day-ish program that includes a guided meditation and a guided mindfulness practice and like a small mini lesson that is geared specifically toward esport performance. And that's at mindgames.gg/MAC, or if you go to mindgames.gg, you click courses, and I think it's like purchasable now. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to figure out how to get the checkout working and the shopping cart working and the My Account page working. But essentially the content is there, the page is there, the link is there, the structure is there, and I'm just like kind of like struggling with the tech behind the scenes because I'm not very good at web programming. But yeah, hoping to get that up for you. Otherwise, headspace.com is a place that I've used, but I don't recommend that anymore because I want you to use my course, which I think is geared much more toward esport and has a lot more like extra. So Headspace is just the mindfulness, but it's not like the extra stuff of like exactly how you asked, how to improve your information processing kind of thing. The answer is training. Lots of it. Not lots of it, actually. Just some of it. From y'all. How do I motivate my team to look beyond their personal growth and start working towards our growth as a group? My main game is World of Warcraft. After having played with multiple top-level teams, a consistent problem I find is that people often value making themselves look good over putting their ego aside and working towards the group goal and competing with other groups. The league equivalent would be prioritizing farmer kills over actually winning the game via teamwork, and losing games you're totally capable of winning. Yeah, that's a tough question because you can't. You can only control your controllables. You can control yourself. So how do you get your team to do that? You need a coach to force the team to do that, because by default, we're going to be wired up to kind of like pursue our own agenda, and that's kind of the way humans are set up. So in order to counteract that, you need like kind of leadership that is respected and obeyed, and you can be that in the form of a captain, but that usually means like being a servant leader and having a lot of respect from self-sacrifice and superiority, and usually from having had a successful career, so people listen to you. So that's pretty tough to pull off, but I would say like first, just control the controllables, control yourself, and don't worry about it so much. And secondly, try to find coaching that can like assist your team in that. Not like game coaching, like team dynamic coaching or lifestyle coaching, or I hate the word life coach more than anything else in the entire universe, but like an actual coach. You know what I mean? Not like somebody who tells you strategy tips and points out where you do wrong. This is from HMDT Temeraire on Twitter. I get tilted super fast when teammates aren't try-harding, so I end up not trying at all. What do I do? I don't think that it's good or bad to try or not try. So you can not try if you want, if you enjoy that. I assume that you do not enjoy not trying from this question. So I would say then if you do not enjoy not trying, then you should try so that you enjoy yourself. And if you do not enjoy not trying, then you should go ahead and not try and not worry about it. Next question is from Anonymous. Hey Weldon, I have a personal dream of becoming a professional league player. Major roadblock is exhausting my ability to train and improve. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy. Okay, so the question is it possible to do this with a strict sleep schedule like I have? And the answer is yes. Sleep's actually pretty good for learning, and your exhaustion can be overcome through training and through stimulants and through nutrition. So, and also, of course, medication to fight narcolepsy. So work on that and continue training and see if you can grind it out. There are Olympians who have narcolepsy. And next question is from Anonymous. If we can improve farm on custom, can we also train to not rage in a game? Yes, you can. Whenever you feel rage coming on, you can practice not raging. Okay, next question is from Thom Moorman, M-O-O, on Twitter, MOORMANTHOM. Question is, I was thinking about starting to drink coffee for optimal performance in League of Legends. I'm 16 years old. Do you think this is smart, and do you think it will help me in improving? Yeah, so there's plenty of countries where people drink coffee starting really young, like 12. And if you're going to drink caffeine, so if you're taking energy drinks already in any form, if you're drinking soda pop, which has caffeine in it, you're already drinking caffeine. So that's the only bad thing in coffee. And it's also a good thing in coffee. But coffee and tea are absolutely the healthiest and most super productive ways of getting caffeine into your body. Way better than any other source of caffeine you will ever have, including just plain caffeine in a pill, because they have so many health effects. So I recommend tea for you, and I recommend white tea and green tea and black tea. You can make black tea the British way if you want. Makes it kind of tasty. Really, really, really strong black tea with milk and a little bit of sugar, or a sweetener that's not sugar. And then coffee if you want to do coffee, and I recommend just straight black coffee and get used to it. But what I would recommend is to buy 100% Arabica bean, organic free trade coffee, or at least organic, that is really high quality, the more you spend, and then make a small cup of it. And the reason I recommend that is because the taste of coffee is really different depending on the quality. And you can get to love kind of whatever taste of coffee you drink, but so much easier to like a really good dark roast coffee. So I recommend super dark, super high quality coffee, and then just don't let anybody steal it. Drink it. Lasts for a while. Also from Mormon Thom on Twitter, I feel like I can't concentrate on League of Legends anymore, and I'm tilted faster than usual. Also, just playing below my level. Dropped from D2 to D4. Any clue what I can do? So I talked about this a little before. A little bit about acceptance. You don't play below your level. You always play your level. It's just that it's your level for the day. So there's no other reality than that. So if you drop from D2 to D4, it's because you're now D4 in whatever way you're playing. You might have been D2 on a different champion or a different role, or in a different week. Or you might not have ever been D2. Might just be D4. If you can't concentrate anymore and you're tilted faster than usual, try to amp up the fuel that you use to get over frustration. So tilting is essentially a choice, and the choice to not tilt is dependent on how motivated you are to not tilt. So that fuel usually comes from goals. If you have a super strong goal, then you can power that non-tilting machine and focus on your goal instead of tilting. The next question from JV Hater on Twitter says, I just lost to a weaker player and I played poorly. How do I get my confidence back and play better next time? Apparently they weren't weaker than you because they beat you. And you didn't play poorly. You just played the level that you play at. The way that you get your confidence back is you accept the challenge and start fighting to become better. Next question is from Anonymous. I want to be a professional, but one thing I think is holding me back is win-lose streaks. It's pretty normal for me to be having win-lose streaks, and when I'm having win streaks, I feel that I play so much better. It's not like one day, it's the entire week or month, and I feel that I play so much better because I'm enjoying the whole game. I don't care about useless stuff when I'm on win streaks. How can I have this mindset forever? Yeah, that's a really good question. When you're winning, it's just so much more fun, and when you're losing, it takes more fuel. And the answer is you can't have that mindset because losing has a cost. You have to pay for that cost in terms of focus and energy. And winning provides you the fuel for free, and then the focus is basically as a cost of nothing. So losing is much harder, and you have to like focus a lot more on yourself and rejuvenation when you're losing. You have to like make sure you're getting rest and nutrition and sleep and taking a break and doing physical maintenance in order to make sure that you have a really high focus going to the game. The way you break losing streaks is you break them apart and you make sure you're well rested going to the next match. Next question is from Tyler O'Donnell, and he asks TY Juice Stew on Twitter. In one of your previous videos, you said something about Ultimate Frisbee, so of course I have to ask, do you play or have you played? The answer is yes. Played in college. If you do, I'm a substitute player for the professional team, the Detroit Mechanics, and actually use some of the stuff you talk about league-wise to help me. I'm extremely intense when I'm on the field, and I let a lot of my mistakes get to me. I've been trying to get better at not letting anything affect me, but it's hard to keep my confidence up when other people are being chosen to play over me. Should I continue to just focus on making myself better, or is there something else I can do? Yeah, control the controllables. Accept the level that which you can play right now and strive to be even better. Really focus on like upgraded patterns of play. So whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to learn, like add to it. Try to do it plus like other stuff as well. Try to like layer it up into more complex behaviors. And also when you're doing the physical training, like just try to get like very effective at it instead of efficient. Like make sure that what you're doing is like more effective and smarter kind of like than your competitors. Also currently going to school for kinesiology pedagogy and would love to be doing something similar to what you're doing to Ultimate someday. Awesome, yeah. My brother coaches coached the University of Minnesota Ultimate team, and I think that he plays on the Minnesota Ultimate. They travel all over the place. I think they were in the Nationals. I think Minnesota has a pretty good Ultimate squad. Like the best. But I need to double check on that. He was just here this week, and I've totally didn't pay attention to like what level of team he plays at or if he coaches it. I forget. Ugh, I feel so bad now. This question is from Somnus Anima on Twitter, and he or she asks, I lose all my motivation to play if I don't have my main role. What should I do when this happens? Find some other way of joy. Find the joy in the experience. Just search the experience out for joy and find it. And if you don't find it, then just quit the queue, quit the game, and walk away. It's not worth it. I think it's hilarious when people chain themselves to a artificial reality because they feel obligated to like strangers online. I would like drop the queue if you don't get your role and just go do something else. If you really can't find the joy in there, then there's no point to actually playing. Unless you're training for something, in which case you can find the training and the learning, and then you can learn and train, and you can feel satisfied about that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the show today, guys. I'm going to jump into Twitch chat now and chat with the guys and ask questions. So make sure if you're watching this on YouTube that you at some point like check me out live when I'm streaming. Try to stream in the evenings, California time, and hopefully I can meet you in Twitch chat. Or actually, sorry, Curse chat, because I have this new Curse server, and the chat is a little bit more like permanent there. So I can, you can catch me when I'm like not streaming as well, and I'll use that kind of like to source questions in the future for the show. So feel free to donate. I'll use it to buy coffee for myself and the guys. You can see the donation link below the stream, and see you next time.